One, two, three. Works every time. Except for gift kits. All right, so I'm Jose Medina. Today we get the opportunity to talk to Christine Stowell. And really, we just want to have like a conversation. Christine was like, I'm a little nervous because I didn't prepare anything. I was like, what we need to get out of you, you already know, and you could spit it out, no problem. So we're just gonna have a conversation with Christine about her business and how you could be getting more business from your database, because that's really where a lot of her business comes from. So for those that don't know you, Christine, why don't you talk to us about who you are, how long you've been in the business, family, stuff like that.
So I'm Christine Stowell. I've been licensed for 10 years this year. Prior to that, I worked at Ryan Homes for 5 years, and I should clarify that my parents have both been realtors for over 40 years apiece, or somewhere in there. So I do have like a little bit of background. But other than that, I have my husband Matt and my two kids, Jack and Joey, who are 4 and 7, and.
So production wise, last year you were
19.4 million, and this year I'll probably end at about 22 million in business. It's just me. I have a closing coordinator, but other than that, I'm the only person running the business. And I do have, like, on a project level, a assistant that will maybe like help with some other things that I need to have done in the business, but pretty much it's just me. I will say though, and we kind of talked about this on the phone, my first year in business, I made $13,000. So it definitely was not, something that happened overnight. And I think consistency, and we'll talk about that, is like a big thing. I kind of like to compare it to like working out, like, people who are at their peak in fitness, they don't just like work out for 5 days and get hot. Like, it's taken a lot of pizza restaurants for me to get body. Like, I think you kind of have to, if it's a long game, it's not a sprint.
Okay. So in the group here, how many of you guys are under 5 years in real estate? Okay, cool. So talk to us about your first couple years. You said for 13,000 your first year. Congratulations. And so talk to me about like what would you do over and like not do again? And on the flip side, what would you have doubled down, knowing what you know now, 10 years in, what would you have doubled down on?
So my first year, I was at a different company in the Toledo area, and I am really thankful for that company because it was a little smaller. And I learned a lot when I was there. I learned about like BNI and networking groups and things like that are really part of my business today. But then after my first like year or so, I moved home to Cleveland and I went to a different brokerage strictly because my parents were there. And this is not a plug for Keller Williams, because I'll like be honest about that. But I kind of looked around at like some of my own personal friends that were in the business. And I was so frustrated because like I was doing all of these things, like, and I knew the same people they knew, like we had the same spirit. Why wasn't I doing that business? So I would have definitely came to Keller Williams and like researched the companies before like just going to where my parents were. Once I came here, that really kind of like I dove into all the material. So that was something that like I wish I wouldn't have just gone where they told me to go because it was easy. I wish I would have like explored, and I probably would have came here faster because all my friends were doing so much business. I wasn't. So that was like a big thing. I did do a lot of like when I was in Toledo that first year. I'm from Cleveland, like born and raised. I've been a bridesmaid 17 times. Like I don't really have a lot of people outside my previous job there. So I did a lot of like for sale by owners and expireds. Random fact, my first listing I ever got was from an expired, and it was 1.8 million. but I would have never focused on that. I would have just started focusing on the people that know. And the reason why is because now that I've built my business on my database, I can break my foot and I can still have people come. I've had a baby where like I had to take time off and she forced me to take more time off than I wanted to, but I thank her times a million for it. She helped take my business. And I still had 12 closings the next month. Like if I didn't set up my business to be my database, then I couldn't have these life events happen and still be in business because things would have stopped.
So talk to me about, you had mentioned BNI network. So there's maybe some of us here that don't know what that is.
Okay.
So talk about what exactly that is, how you got involved in it, and like, would you recommend that for others?
So BNI is Business Network International. They are in over 72 countries. It's like the biggest networking group or like business group, whatever, in the world. So it is industry exclusive, so there can't be more than one realtor per group. I got introduced to it in a very funny way. There was this lady at my first office in Toledo, her name was Donna, and she actually did $20 million. It's kind of here. And that was like, I thought she was so amazing. And so she took me to the BNI meeting. And it was like this random meeting that I probably like would never happen again ever. But it was about 50 people in the chapter, which is a lot. Usually they're close to like 20. And the jeweler gave his presentation that day. And as a thank you, the person who gives their presentation in BNI on their business gets to like give a gift, or like they like do a drawing for all the referrals that you pass. And he gave away a Rolex because he made so much money off of the group. And here I am sitting in this group like, okay, this guy's giving away a Rolex. I need to join a networking group. So I then joined one there. And then when I moved back home to England, I joined one in Rocky River. And then that kind of fizzled out. So I actually just started one about a year ago. We're up to 23 members now. Because it's very hard for a real estate agent to get into an industry exclusive networking group. So I had to like build my own. So and then that's what like BNI is. I'm also part of like an all women's networking group where you also focus on philanthropy. And no offense to the guys in the room, but there is something. I was really nervous about my women's group because it was like a women's group in Rocky River. I was like, oh God, this is gonna be like a bunch of ladies. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I've been in it since like 2016. There's something to be said for women enjoy doing business with other women and trusting other women in certain scenarios. And so that's really paid off for me. Some of my biggest, I can think of off the top $3 million listings that have came up of that specifically.
Nice. So by show of hands, audience, how many of you guys are in some type of a networking group? Okay. I highly encourage it. Like Christine, that was a really big part of my business early on. And like Christine, I was shut out of the local one, so I just created my own, right? And it's not that complicated. It's not that intricate to do. But getting an attorney, an accountant, all of the different things, and those people being in your core group, I think is really critical. And still, even though I don't have time to be involved in it today, I still get referrals from them.
I get referrals from groups that I was in forever ago,
yeah,
not just from this group. But I think of it almost as like the safety net for my business. So, like with these networking groups, they have to pass referrals. It is monitored. It is like everything is recorded. It's all in like this giver's gain mentality. And so when we are in different markets, or I've been in Valley, that's where those groups kind of come into play, because sometimes they're not all $1 million. Sometimes those deals kind of help in the big picture.
Yeah. So you went from 13,000 your first year to now we're doing over 20 million. Sounds like it was just this meteoric rise and there's been no hard points.
I know.
So talk to me about like, because we had talked, there were some tough times, and I think people need to hear that, because right now, like, it is not the easiest in real estate. There's a lot of competition. So if you're a new agent sitting in the audience and you're like, is this game really legit? Should I be doing this? Should I get a real job? Talk to me about like what some of those struggles were and how did you not quit? Because I see a lot of people quit when they're this close to like a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So, I think what you're referring to is so start in 2013, move home in 14, 15, that's where I was. So these are in 2015. So in 2016, I had, I was like just getting started and I was doing all the things that I wanted to do, but like, it wasn't really like catapulting like where I wanted to be. And it was frustrating because everybody kept saying like, oh, you're doing the right things. And I was like, where's the money? And so like there was this time when I had my first son Jack in 2016 and I had a C-section and 2 months later, so that was March, so it was a month later, so April, it was like snowing outside and our heat got shut off. And I like still crying about it because it was like, oh my God, like what am I actually doing here? Like what am I trying to do here? Why am I doing this? Like, do I trust the system like everybody says and trust what I'm doing and keep going? Or like I'm a new mom with a baby and my heat just got shut off. Like, oh my God. So that was like one of those moments where like, me and my husband talk and we sit down and I'm like, everybody says I'm doing everything right. And, I'm showing up to the office, but I don't always really have stuff to do, but I'm still showing up and like doing what I need to. Like, how are we going to make it? Like, how is this going to happen? So, fast forward to the next year. I think the next year I did better. And my husband was a general contractor, did kitchens and bathrooms for a while. And I promised him at the end of 2017, he did a friend of mine's bathroom from high school. That was the last bathroom he would ever do. And he hasn't done a bathroom since. So 2016, like mid-year was like the lowest financially. Fast forward to 2018, that was the first year I became top agent in this office. And then I was top agent from 19, 21, 22, I don't know, I said 20, I don't know, I said the value difference went from like 3 million to like 4 million. And I remember I was sitting at a business plan, it was like my favorite class like ever. And I was sitting and I had just done 4.75 million the year before. And somebody looked at me that I like know really well and respect really well. And they're like, if you think you're gonna do that again, like there's no chance. And like I kind of took it to a place of like, oh yeah, like watch me do this. And so then the next year I did like 7.5 and then kind of went up there. So it wasn't easy, but if you can tell, like I'm talking about like, like maybe like 5 million, got 4.575 million. And then we get to like 7. And then I got to like 10 was always the goal. And I still wrote it on a board like every year, but didn't always get there. So like it didn't just like one day sold 20.
Yeah. If you guys have questions too, feel free to raise your hand and we'll get you those questions answered. So it wasn't this meteoric rise. It wasn't like every year it was easier. There is a point where it does become a little bit easier, but for those that are struggling, like here, that was like 5 to 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't like, 15, 20 years ago, I was struggling. Now, like Gary Keller says, you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. Mm-hmm. Like understand this wasn't that long ago, and now she's selling 20 million plus a year, right? Yeah. So, okay, so let's fast forward to now. Like so much of your business comes from your database. So yeah. You're over 20 million this year. How much money did you spend on buying online leads?
0.
Okay, cool. So your lead gen budget is very, very low.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like, what are you doing on a daily basis that these fine people can put into place that will get business from their database?
So I just want to say, I have never bought leads from any site ever. And so everything that I've done has been from my database always. Sometimes I do open houses, so and to this day I do open houses. So I will get leads from that, but most of it is, I would say maybe like 4 leads a year come from an open house. So my day-to-day basis is I get up about 6. And before I get out of bed, it takes a lot for me to get out. It's like I was drugged the night before and I was so
Anybody else like that?
like I don't just wake up with, oh, I've been coffee on, like that's not me. So I have to like lay there for a little bit and like come to as I'm coming out of it. And so the way I do that is like kind of starts time management from the day. I grab my phone because my alarm is going off and I keep snooze. And then I grab my phone, it's usually about 6, and I'll do a post of some sort. So it's not always like real estate. It may be my kids or something like relatable. Or I'll like look at my emails. I'll do something with the phone. So it like wakes me up and stresses me out a little bit. And then I go get the kids ready, get them to school. I go to the gym, and then like the rest of my day happens, which could be a networking group. So I remember like when I first started at Keller Williams, they told me that you need to do 5 days of like lead generation for 2 hours a day. So in my world, that is like, well, 2 of those days are networking groups. I may have like one-to-one meetings with somebody in like a different business or from those groups. I may be like doing something social. Like me and my friends went to a puzzle night at like Olmsted Falls Community Center. Totally not a puzzle girl, but we definitely went and had fun because I'm always looking for like little ways to like add like more people to know. So no day is similar. I'd say like past the gym and past networking groups is when my days can kind of like get out of control. But I do make it a point that before noon, like I go through all my emails, I return all my phone calls. I like my text messages, emails, and phone calls to 0. So like I make sure that stuff happens, and then the rest of the day can kind of take place. So whether that's showings, listing appointments, working on my marketing, with the kids, like that. So the first half of my day is like very planned and intentional. And I will say that like for those of you that do know me, I live by my calendar. Like the saying, I think that's how they have to say, like if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. Like that is me to a T. I recently got a new phone and I had to call Mike because this wasn't on my calendar. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I must have downloaded it from the other phone, like it's not working. So everything is on my calendar, but that's not just so because I have an immense fear of being late. It's so that I can plan the things that need to happen in the middle around what's on the calendar.
Okay. So are you okay? So when people say I work my database, I get business from my database. I think some people's mind goes to I don't want to sell to my database because if I go to puzzle night, they're not going to want to go with me because all he's going to ask about is referrals and do you have a lead for me?
Yeah.
So like, how do you weave real estate into natural puzzle nights and like having like actually getting business out of that?
Yeah. So like I kind of have like broken down my life into like I have multiple spheres. Okay. So I have my high school friends, which by the way, my nickname is Krusty, and I can walk into any building and Krusty. So I have those people, and then I went to the University of Toledo, so I have like a pretty good group of like college friends. And then I have like my past work friends, whenever I was at like Ryan Homes, I was the dreaded after sales girl. I was for a few years. And then I have like my post-college friends. And then now like I'm involved and I have like my mom friends and like our friends we've met from daycare. I play tennis, so my friends I've met from that. Who surprisingly are like all realtors in one kind of position. So and then I have like I just like I'm always social. So if somebody asks me to go somewhere or do something, I have a wonderful husband who understands that, like, okay, she's not going because she wants to like go to sushi and like have a girls' night. I'm going to like keep that relationship. And that's what this whole thing is about. I feel like I'm totally that.
No, that's, yeah, you're
But like when I like categorize like these people and like what I'm doing with them, like I'm not in the business of like selling real estate. Like, yeah, I am, but like I'm in the business of, you know, like building relationships and like truly caring for people. So when I walk into a room, I don't want people to be like, oh my God, there's Christine going to try something else, or I ask people I know and I don't want to talk to them because that would be horrible. I want people to see me when they walk in a room and be like, Frosty, and be like, yeah, like, how's it going? I don't want people to be afraid to talk. But with that, I also want people to feel comfortable coming to me with like $100,000 sale that maybe it was their parents' home and they're a little embarrassed of because mom's a hoarder, or I want them to feel comfortable coming to me because they won the lottery and they don't want anyone to know and they want to buy a $12 million mansion. Like, yeah, I want to do that. Like, let's do that. But so I want people to feel comfortable with me on all accounts. And so when I'm marketing to my database, I do like your typical events, and I do like postcards and object of value and things like that. But I also do like phone calls just to see how people are doing. And I've had people kind of like come down on me, like, what's your script for that? Well, there is no script for being like a human being, you know? Like, there's no script for me to call and say, like, hey, Sarah, like, you know, I saw your dad passed away, and I remember in high school I was always at sporting events. I just want you to know I'm so sorry. Like, there's not a script for that. There's not a script for, oh my gosh, you just got a new puppy. Like, send me all the pictures. What kind of breed is it? I'm thinking about getting a puppy. They would never let me get a puppy. But, like, they don't know that, you know? So I'm just trying to be relatable and build business. And I use Facebook and LinkedIn for, like, congratulations on a job or whatever. Like, I use these things as tools to catch up with people and not be a keyboard warrior.
So let's say I'm in your database. We went to high school together, and you sold me a house 3 years ago. As a consumer, what am I getting from you on a monthly basis, a weekly basis, a yearly basis? Like, talk to me about like what's my relationship with Christine 2 or 3 years after I bought a house from you.
So you'll probably get a call from me right about now, just checking in and like seeing how things are going. I start my calendar with marketing in October, and then it kind of goes through the rest of the year because really from like May through August, it's a little bit harder to like for me to be super on top of my marketing. So I start my heavy stuff now. And also in my mind, I'm like, well, Jose, I just went to this house a few years ago. You're going to be meeting with your family and friends over the holidays. And if anybody's looking to move, I want to come off as somebody who's so approachable and that you're happy with it and that you still trust in me and think of me as a trusted advisor. So that's why I'm calling. Like, everything has intention behind it. If you bought from me this year, you may get we may get cookies, like some handmade cookies. You're going to get an ornament with a hand painted address on it. You're going to get, regardless of when you bought from me, you're going to get a Christmas card from me. Everybody in my sphere gets a Christmas card from me. So it's not like a postcard that says Merry Christmas on it. It's like a picture of me and my kids with a Christmas tree, and like
like your friends would get.
Right, because they're in my sphere. They are I do have a relationship with them. And what's interesting is I used to do Christmas cards with that, and they're like postcards. And then I switched to Christmas cards, and it was shocking how many Christmas cards I got back from people I never would have expected. So there, things like that I do are a little bit more like personalized, especially like this time of year. And then the rest of the year, it's like maybe I'm texting them. Like if I find out maybe you bought a home for me and you're having a baby, I might send you like a baby gift. Like nothing extravagant, but something like, hey, congratulations, you know. So I try to come off as thoughtful. I'm not thoughtful though. I need other people to like prompt me to do this. But so that's like I feel like it's much more like real. I send birthday cards. So my birthday's on New Year's Eve. And like everybody can think it's about your birthday, except for I'm usually the one throwing the party. So I send out birthday cards. They are just bought online and I have a generic message in them. And I handwrite the name and I sign my name on it. And I put a $1 lottery ticket in it with a business card because nobody sent me birthday cards. But like, and maybe it's middle person, but like, so I try to do things where like I'm just coming off myself and nice. I've done all sorts of events and stuff, and some have worked and some haven't. But I find that if I'm coming from a place of giving instead of a place of asking, people are much more likely to just come to me with anything, and I do need them. So, and like when I give them the cookies, I'll like physically go to their house. Like I'm not mailing these cookies to them. I'm like going to their house strategically when I know they're going to be home. I joked with Jose, but I'm totally like honest. Don't drink the wine with them if you want to do that because you'll hit like 2 or 3 houses and you have to go home. So I don't know. I just try to come across as I would want somebody to come across as me.
One of the things that you had said when we were talking was taking online to offline. Those are kind of my words, but someone gets a new puppy, or someone, let's say someone has a baby, you write a handwritten card to say, congratulations on the new baby, I just saw it.
Yeah.
I think what happens is the online social media world is so congested. If I like it, you're probably not going to notice. If I comment, you're probably not going to remember. But if I write a handwritten note card, I stand out from the other 120 comments that you had on social.
And you don't have to be brilliant. Like,
no.
Again, there's no script for it. Like, congratulations on your beautiful baby boy. Wishing you like an amazing, next like what I don't know, just like congratulations on your beautiful baby boy. Love Sarah Medrick. Like that's all it needs to be.
Right.
Doesn't need to be anything mindful.
So you signed you as other agents' name?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about your business and 20 million and all that, you probably have this robust CRM that you are in on a daily basis and doing all the things.
Yeah. Called Excel. Again, it's mind blowing, it's super expensive. So I mean, when I told Jose this, like he's like his head was down and he was like, so talk to me about like your CRM, and I was like it's Excel, like I love you, man, but really it's Excel.
Right.
So it's Excel because it makes sense to me. I can work it very easily. I have somebody in the background that's doing it. I don't want like to put my stuff in a system and have it sold to agents at Remax. Like I'm it's careful with it, And so you don't need to spend $1,000 a month on like Boomtown or whatever, like some of these like CRMs. Like it's all in Excel. And I know from business planning like what I'm doing each month. So like I have a Thanksgiving postcard that's like a jumbo postcard that's designed to hit people's mailboxes between this Friday and Wednesday. So I just send them my Excel spreadsheet and my printer sends it off. My printer is also somebody I grew up with and went to high school with who does call me crusty. And they like I use them because they're in my sphere and I want them to use me and they do use. So I use people in their business that are also people that I can have like consulting. So I'm really loyal to people in my sphere.
But I think hopefully what everyone is getting is it's about consistency.
Yes.
Right. Like, and I think especially with realtors, we live in a world where like I'm going to go hard for 30 days or 45 days or whatever the case is and do something. And it's not about like that intensity. It's about consistency over time.
Yeah.
And that ultimately pays off. It doesn't pay off right away.
Right.
Right. There's a 90 to 120 day runway for anything you're doing right now. 90 to 120 days, it'll start to show up.
But I think there's something to that 90 to 100 days, because like, I can't just send a postcard and expect in 90 days to my business flowing up, right?
Right.
Like, you have to remain consistent. And I remember when I first started, like, sometimes you have to fake it to make it, right? Like I said, that first year I sold 13 million. The next year my heat got shut off and I had a newborn baby at home. Like, if it wasn't for consistency, it wouldn't have happened. So like, you send the postcard, but maybe you take a picture of that postcard that you sent and post it on your Instagram story and post on Facebook, like a little like about like what's going on in the marketplace. You can come into this office and like take a picture of Change the Storm or Onward. Like, there's so many things within the office that you can be like, oh, I'm at the office working, or there's a lot of things that we can do to be consistent and just show up and know.
So talk to me about your social media, because at least for me, I don't want to see someone just posting real estate stuff, because it's kind of like nauseating.
Yeah.
So how do you go about like mixing up personal and like business so it doesn't come across as you're just a salesperson?
Yeah. So I think that it just goes back to like, you know, like, what do you enjoy? What do you like? I have kids, so I'm blessed that I'm able to post my kids and the stupid funny things that they're doing that people be like, oh, that's just like a puppy, like same thing. But also I'm really mindful, like just sold. I posted one this morning in bed. Like, when you post the just sold, like you're never gonna catch me posting like 3 just sold in one day or even in a week. Like, I like to space them out because that's remaining consistent for everybody who follows me. If I post all my just solds for like a week and like, let's say I sold 4 homes this week, yay me, but at the same time, people really don't care. Nobody cares. You care. And you're not really posting that so that people think you're this almighty great realtor. You're posting that to stay relevant. And if you post all 4 homes that same day, you're not going to be relevant next week. But if you post 1 home this week and 2 homes next week and another home the following week, now you've just remained consistent. People are like, oh my gosh, Troy's telling me that. So I try to like space it apart, but I try to also not just post like just sold or I just listed this house. And sometimes I feel like it feels like that. I honestly hate social media. I didn't have to be on it at all. But I feel as though like, you have to add value. You can't just say I'm just selling homes. And there's a lot of really great tools that we all have access to that can help with that. Whether it's things from our market center and things that we learn in our meetings, and Sheffy was here, but he has like a ton of marketing materials and rates and things like that. Title companies have a ton of print materials that you can just take a picture. But there's even easier sources like Inman News. Does everybody know what Inman is? If you don't, you should go follow it. Or Keeping Current Matters. You could just share these little snippets on your story, on your post, and those things that are free are now giving you that like trusted advisor status because you're coming from a place of value instead of a place of like just looking. And then, you know, I throw my kid eating pizza or like something like that in there. We went on a trip, and I just try to like do all of it so that it's like relatable and coming together. So if I'm out on a ski trip with my friends, I'm gonna post it. But if I'm like sitting at home and I'm not doing anything, I might just post something and Keeping Current Matters. Like, there's my effort for But you can't overwhelm it. Like, you can't post like 50 times a day.
Right.
Like, then no one's gonna, they're just go past.
But I also like what I've seen on your social media is that you keep it real. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I think I remember it was like a year or so ago, like Tupac was on the radio or something. And you took a picture of like you're driving to an appointment or something, and posted that. And like I've seen you post stuff about like a new smoothie shop in Berea, and you like it, and you're giving it props.
Yeah.
I think all of that just makes you more relevant, where versus just sold or just find another listing. no one really cares about that. But like if you can add value and just be real, I think that's where it goes a little bit
And
further.
people in Cleveland love local business, so I will post at local businesses like the smoothie shop or a coffee shop. Not all the time, but yeah, like it gives you something.
Yeah. You guys have questions, raise your hand, make sure I see.
Is everyone
Okay.
bored?
So
I was just gonna ask one question, because this was at the very beginning, how many units is it for 22 mil?
So that'll be about 52 units. So there are two big commercial deals in that one. There's a commercial piece for 2 million. And then I have land closing, 444 acres including the station for about. But that's like split. But that one's like split up between this year and next year, so.
and where did that, I'm just curious, where did that lead come from?
Both of them.
Okay, so fast forward like to right now in your current day, what does leverage look like in your world? Like you're selling a house a week, basically closing a house a week, if not more. I remember 2-3 years ago, we sat down to do like some end of year business planning and you were like, I need to start a team, but I don't really want to start a team. Like talk to me about why you're still a single agent and how that works for you and the leverage that you put around yourself so you can do this and still be a mom and still be a wife and still be a friend.
So actually that meeting was really eye-opening for me. I do thank you for that. I've never done that before, but that was really like eye-opening because I sat down with Jose and I thought I was like so prepared. I had like my P&L and I like had like but it wasn't like a real P&L. It was just like this is what I'm spending like on a like Word doc. Like this is like really where my money goes. And he looked at it and he goes, "You're doing just fine." He's like, if you don't want to start a team, he's like, "Your numbers are great. Like, don't start a team." And so I was kind of like, but then he offered me like other resources to help me continue to build and grow. And I was at like 14 million, I think, that year. And like I'm still an individual agent because I am built on referral. Well, okay, let me back this up. So I wanted to start a team, and I think a lot of people start teams when they do like $5 million. And while $5 million is great, to me, I've always been like, I want to add value. Like, why would I join somebody's team if they're not doing like crazy business, right? And so, like, I felt like by that time, like I had done enough business where maybe I should be starting a team. And like maybe now I'm legit because I did this like 14 whatever million. Like, okay, now maybe people will like want to come on the Christine Stowell bandwagon. And then I was kind of like, I don't want to hurt either. Like I'm really happy in my daily life, and I'm really happy with my work like balance. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. So then I'm sorry if that. I mean, which way? It's just the way I process it. And so then I was like, okay, so how can I grow? Because what if I'm bottlenecked right now? So I did about 12 million that year, 14, and somehow Ann Presley like magically came. And so she then became my transaction coordinator. Up until then, I was doing all my own paperwork. Like I would come into the office and like some of you would see me here and I would be like putting these packets together and I'd print it and I'd scan it and I'd do all this stuff. And it's true that other people can do things better than you and take it off your plate. And I think I'm such a control freak that it took me that long to hire a transaction coordinator. I also have my neighbor who kind of serves as like a personal assistant role. It's on a project basis, so she helps me with updating my sphere. She helps me with doing the birthday cards when I don't want to, just to keep it going. She'll help with getting events going, but it's on a project basis, and I don't pay her a ton. I maybe pay her like, depending on the size of the project, $100 to $500, depending on what it is and the importance to me. And then I have my husband who I made that promise in 2017 that he would never do another back again. So he's a stay-at-home dad. And so that makes things a lot easier because I can just go on an appointment. I have somebody who's supporting me in that way. And he gets it that like, you need to be here, you need to be with that group. You haven't been with that group in a while, so you should call them and ask them if they want to do this. And he also is a major sport with helping with entertaining. That's like a passion of mine. I love to like have parties and people over, but also it feeds the spirit because now you're like a party person. So we have something going on almost every weekend. So he's really good about like securing the bartender for my New Year's Eve / birthday party, or I have a BNI Christmas party at my house. And there's gonna be like 50 people there. Like he's good at like helping make sure all the ducks are in a row.
Questions?
Yes.
Got a couple.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Does he have a single father or? I need that support person in my life.
And that was earned over time, right? Like
Yeah.
you built up your business, you built up your business, you guys have figured out your finances to be able to be in that situation.
Yeah.
And over time, that was the agreement that you guys came to.
Right.
Yeah.
But like a year and a half before that, he got turned off. So
Right.
keep that in mind. Like things can happen fast. Consistent with it, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. More?
Congratulations, very impressive, by the way. And I just wanted to ask you, knowing what you know now, if you can go back, what would you tell yourself? Like that would save you agony and headache. It could be anything, whether, like getting leads or getting operations.
I think if I could go back and tell myself, I think I would have hired Ann Presley a long time ago. I would have hired her at like 7 million, maybe 10 million. I would have hired her well before I got to that point because it took a lot of time off my plate and gave it back to my kids. I would have told myself something I tell myself now that is that yes, it doesn't happen overnight. And there are valleys and there are peaks. So there's some months where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just made that much money this month. And then there's months where I'm like, God, like don't spend anything. Like we gotta like, buckle up. But now my mindset's changed with that buckle up a little bit. And it's kind of like, what didn't I do 3 months ago? Why am I here? And it's more of like a reflective place. And what can I do to like jumpstart it back up again? Because although we're talking about consistency and habits, there are times when you break your foot and you're like throwing yourself a pity party. And then it's like one day you just have to go. So I would tell myself that it's going to be okay, that you really do need to trust the process. I remember when I first was at Keller Williams and I was in a car with 2 leaders here, and I was just in the backseat of this car and I was like, I'm just doing everything. I'm doing everything you're telling me to, and I'm not seeing the results. And I was so frustrated. Like I was almost ready to quit, but like I think I was more frustrated. Like, why isn't this happening for me? And they were like, you just need to like keep doing what you're doing. It's gonna happen. And I don't know, by the grace of God, I listened to them. And now I'm in a career where, I'm like the happiest I've ever been in like almost every aspect of my life. I could cut back on that pizza and ranch dressing and I'd be really, really, but I feel like I'm glad that I didn't stop because I created a life by design that I love. And when people talk about becoming a team leader and all these things, there's 2 things with that. Number one, my business is built on referrals. So if I was in your wedding, and I've had this happen where other people came to me instead and been like, and I passed you off on a team member, like, how would you feel if I didn't want to take that time with you? Like, you'd probably be like, dude, Christine just passed me off on somebody. And yeah, the person was great, but I came to her because it's her. And so I can't do that. And this is gonna be the cheesiest thing you guys have. People hate buyers. But there's a moment when people are in a home and the guy usually I was like this, yeah, that's great. And they're like, oh, this, I can tell this is the house they're gonna buy. They're gonna buy this house. And it's that look on their face that no, like it drives me. Like I just want to do more of this. I want to see that face more. How can I see that face more? And it becomes a game at some point to me where it's not anymore as much about the money. I mean, it's always about the money, but it becomes about it's fun. Like, can I do more than 60 deals a year? I haven't done that, but like maybe like let's see if I can do it in 2024. So, you know, that's a very long answer.
What I love about what you said is, you figured out what you love to do,
Mhm.
and you've kept that as the bullseye for what you want to do.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times in this industry, especially, people get caught looking to the left and to the right of what other people are doing. Like, oh, that person's only been licensed 3 years and they have a team that's blah, blah, blah. Well, you haven't seen their profit and loss statement either. But like, you look to the left and the right, and then you like try to compete with others. And I see that like go wrong for a lot of agents.
Yeah.
And what you have said is, I love helping buyers. I love, working directly with clients. There's stuff I don't love that I can leverage off, but I'm gonna figure out what I love and I'm gonna keep that at the center of what I'm doing and leverage other things off.
Yeah, because like, okay, so I was a competitive swimmer for 13 years. And like with that in mind, do you know what happens when you're swimming in a race and you look to the side of you to see what somebody else is doing? Slow down. So I can't compare myself to Jose, who's doing like 130 million plus 130 million. Like I can't compare myself to him because it's different, right? Like he's found leverage and happiness in other places, and that's okay. But if you were to come into my office, like my desk would be here, and then here would be a board of all of the sales I have this year with a whiteboard of like my pending. And underneath that board of my sales for the year, there's boards since 2016 of my sales. So I'm not like, and I saved those, like I'm not competing with like Nicole or Farrah or Troy. I'm competing with myself because like I want to do better. Because if I stop and look next to me and like if I get upset that Yatra got a listing over me, I'm gonna spend all of this negative time and emotion on something that's so irrelevant when I could put that energy into like, all right, let's go. Like I missed that one, but now it's time to do something else. So I think that that's like a big thing. It's not looking at what other people are doing. And there's so many egos in this business. And we've all got like that, like mean realtors. I don't want to work with them again. They made me cry when I put up the phone. Like there's so many egos in this business, and like those people aren't great. Like they're upset, they're frustrated, they're not happy, and like you can like we can all rise above that.
Right.
Like you should never treat. I always say like. I want people to remember me as the nicest person they ever met in their entire life, who happens to be a realtor that they don't have her role coming to. Even with agents, like there's been so many mean people over the past few years, like you could lose a deal because you were so rude to somebody else. Like I think we all need to like put that in check.
How do you not suffer burnout being a solo parent? On my own, I'm probably around 40.
Okay.
I have 2 members, but sometimes like if I'm in a house and I love milking, sometimes I'm rolling my eyes so hard. I'm starting to
Yeah.
like how do you find like where does your joy get?
I think I learned, I was a productivity coach here a long time ago, and I kind of learned like if I'm not happy doing something, I'm just not gonna do it. Like I'm not going to do it. But I think it's like I have suffered burnout once. It was in 2020, and I was in Real Producers. I was getting ready for that shoot, and I don't know why I let that. Like I also had 30 hours of CE due, and like it was Christmas, and it was just like, oh my God. So I have suffered burnout once. But I don't know. I just kind of like really stick to my calendar. Like I really stick to my calendar. I block my appointments off so that if I need to stop and like get a latte, like I have the time to do that. There are people that drive me nuts, and I fire them. Like literally, like and I tell people that when I'm at listing appointments, like, this contract's for 6 months, but if you're not happy with me, there's a good chance I'm not happy with you either. So it's okay if we break up. I remember one time I fired a listing. They wanted to put the house back on the market after the inspection found mold. And I like hated these people by the end of it. And she goes, well, Christina, now that we have that mutual release, like, I guess you have, this is actually funny. She's like, I guess it's your turn to, like, do you want to continue this relationship? And I was like, well, actually, I decided that I'm gonna be sending you a mutual release as well. And, like, I think you'd be better off with a different agent. And she goes, oh, well, thank you for wasting my time. And they go, oh, you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome. So, I mean,
How was that 5-star review?
takes a little. So I fired people too, because it goes back to, I'm not going to let you ruin my life. My time is too valuable, my headspace is too valuable, and I'm not going to deal with somebody who, I'm very compassionate, but if you're going to be a giant see next Tuesday, then we're not. That's what
Yeah. My 2 cents on that is, Christine and I couldn't be more different, like literally. And I don't think we get burned out because we found what we're passionate about and what we love to do. And that's where we decide to spend our time and energy. I've never got that feeling that she was just talking about with the buyer. Never once has that happened to me. My moment is in a listing appointment, and I know that I was in a competitive situation. I can do those all day long, and I never get, like, that just never burns me out. My coach gives me a hard time because I run a really big team and a bunch of things, and I'm still doing listings. But like, if I wasn't doing listings, I would be burned out. Like, cause I'm like, if I had to do all just like leadership stuff, like, so find what you need to be doing to like keep you passionate and then leverage out the other stuff would be my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Other questions?
You mentioned social media. How does that work? Like, which one did you find that worked best for you?
So I have connected my Instagram and Facebook account, so I only have to post on one and you're in both, which I think most people are now. So that is like a time saver for me. But what about like?
Well, you use LinkedIn too.
I do use LinkedIn.
Yeah, you post on
because there's
LinkedIn.
a lot of people from my past business experience that are on LinkedIn, past clients and my past company in Toledo, where I want them to still speak. I think my biggest thing is just remaining consistent and being relevant. Also, and we talked about this, you will never catch me talking about any form of politics. Like,
Yes.
I have very strong convictions in my politics, but I will never talk about it, because if you do, in today's world, you're eliminating half of your potential people. And people are very strongly convicted on how they feel. So I will never ever talk about politics. There's people out there that think Republican, that think I don't have any idea. I just go with what the headlines say in that arena, whatever. So I never talk about politics. And I'm never negative on social media ever. Like, even if I'm having the worst day, I don't complain on social media, because, and I've had people tell me like, oh, like, we love what you put out there. And I'm like, I annoy myself. Like, I'm glad that you like this, but I am not negative, because there's so much negative in our world. There's so much negative that if we can at least come from a place of positivity, I think that is a value add to everybody who follows us. But also, I'm really, really, really like specific about what I'm posting and intentional. And when I say that, when the interest rates went to 8%, guess who was not on social media having about it? Me. When we were in multiple offers and I had a client go $100,000 over asking with a full appraisal gap that they were going to pull for their 401k, guess who did not talk about it and like scare people? I think as realtors, we have a really fine line that we need to come from adding value, showing that we're consistent, but not scaring the hell. people because it is a crazy market. But the real estate market's a circle. Like, I know this from when I worked at Ryan Homes when it crashed. Like, if you bought in 2007, it kind of sucked in 2008. But today, like, you're doing great. So I think that, like, just to remember that, like, our market, just like any market, is a circle. And just like any market, it's supply and demand that drives this market. And if you come from a place of scaring people, or like if you're too in your head, like, oh, this market sucks. And I learned this from my mom in 2008 when I worked at Ryan Homes. My mom was a realtor, and she, people would come up to her at the grocery store and be like, oh, how's business, how's real estate? She'd be like, oh, it's awful. Well, there's another realtor that now does an insane amount of business. And she was like, it's great. Homes are selling. Or what did she say? She goes, it's incredible. Homes are selling. It could be incredibly good or incredibly bad. Nobody knew. She just said it was incredible and homes are selling. So what we're saying, my mom's career changed and it's never recovered. But when this isn't really.
No, it's
Okay.
not viral.
So, but from like yeah, hey. But from watching that difference, and like it really taught me before I even got licensed that like what we're projecting out there, people are paying attention to that. And you don't want to work with somebody who's like, oh, this market's so hard, like I can't get a deal to save my life. Like you want to work with somebody who's consistently showing you that like where things are at and like who's positive. And I think that was like a really big thing.
The other thing for social media, what we had talked about was your social media feed is filled with past clients, your
Yeah,
sphere, and not so much agents,
yeah,
right? And so like, I don't know how your social media feed is, but if you're going there to get business, agents probably aren't sending you business in your marketplace. So like you go there intentional to make sure that the algorithm notices and brings up your feed of people that are going to be sending you business versus realtors that are not going to send you business.
yeah. And I'm gonna sound like, please do not think I'm a horrible person. Like I should close my eyes, but like, here's the deal. It's like, I'm not advertising to all of you. Like,
Right.
None of you are going to buy a house from me today, or tomorrow, or in a year from now. You're all in this business for a reason. That's saving money. And so I have a ton of friend requests that are from agents, and I don't accept them. Like, my page is public. If you want to see what I'm posting, you can post it. But that's going to get in the way of my birthday cards, and I'm using Facebook as a database. Like, I don't need to be friends with all these agents, like people I don't know. So I don't want to send you a birthday card. And like you're like, why is she marketing to me? You know? Like she got confused because she doesn't know me. But also like, and we kind of talked about this, like I'm a highly social person. Like you can't tell, like I'm very social, and I use every aspect of my life to become friends with people. And if somebody doesn't want to be my friend, I get really offended, and I just try to find my little way in there to become your bestie. But that's more of a competitive manner. My point is like, I don't go to realtor a lot, ever. Like, I don't spend my time with other realtors. I did my first year, but like, and it's nothing against any of you. I have some really good friends in this room, and like, I love you, but like, you're not going to be my next deal, and you're not going to be buying a house from me. And I've got 2 little kids and a husband, and I need to prioritize my time. So if I'm not going to be making money from you, I'm sorry, but going to hang out with a bunch of realtors isn't on my priority. And I see a lot of people, and I think and I'm not building a team. I think that's the other thing, because I'm not building a team, so I'm not looking to recruit. But I think that, you know, it's good to spend time with, especially if you're newer, with other agents, and it's good to like build your friends in the industry because you need them. But there's a lot of other ways that you can do it. So for like the hour, and like every lender, like we all have lenders and title people that are calling to sit down and do lunch. And like, is that really the best use of your time? Like I can use more pizza than trust in Mexican food. But like, is that the most productive thing? And the answer is like, no, it's not. So you won't see me I'll go to the holiday party and like the award ceremony And I'll do like things like that, in this, but like, I'm not going to be at every event. Like, I say no to a lot.
Right.
And learning to say no is really a big thing, especially when you're saying no to yourself. Like, that's it.
But it's about being intentional. Like you're being intentional when you go out and you do puzzle night. And yes, you're not wearing. I'm gonna keep using it, but like you're not saying buy a house to be at night. You're being intentional to know why you're going out there. It's to build relationships and it hopes to really boost your business.
Yeah.
So, other questions?
You don't have a business post, it's just public, right? It's just yours.
It's just my
Personal.
I do have like business. I have to post in those minutes. It's just me.
Yeah.
So I thought about it.
When you send out all your cards and contact information, are you dropping business cards on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
It depends. Like, if your mom died,
but in your Christmas cards. Holiday
no,
cards.
no. My holiday cards are just like from Shutterfly, actually with Walmart, don't judge. And it's like a picture that we are really on the holidays. Personally, I've never had a special picture taken of my family. And it's just a picture, print at Walmart, my husband and kids put it together. And there you go.
There you go. Cool. Other questions?
Yeah,
You were able to retire your husband, which is very admirable. You get to retire anytime soon?
I don't want to retire. There are times, and it happens about once a week, where I throw my phone and I was like, I never want to do this again. I don't want to retire anytime soon. I do think of like other streams of income that I've always wanted to start, like I've always wanted to like travel and be like a real estate coach and teach people like how to build the business I've built. I don't know where to get started with that, but it's like on my list of things I want to do. We just got an Airbnb, so like that's exciting. But in terms of like retiring, like I gotta sell like 75 houses. I still have to hit that goal. Like, and I have to find like more leverage, and I have things that I want to do that are revolving real estate and helping like serving others. So no retiring. I'll be like 80 up here, like with my oxygen tank here.
All right, we're gonna respect everyone's time. Can we give it up for Christine?
No, thank you for being here.
All right, have a good day, guys.